itself, because it was on Sunday the 10th of May 1987 that my mother, father and myself embarked on here on our first passenger experience, and we went to the Canary Islands for a week. And it all evolved from there, and after about the 5th or 6th cruise, I said to my mother I'd work on this ship, and in fact I was so privileged to be able to work on the ship then. There have been so many. We were synonymous in the day, even from 1840 when Charles Dickens sailed across on the Britannia. We've been synonymous with attracting stars and film stars, politicians and so on and so forth. And indeed it was, we've had Nelson Mandela on here, we've had the Queen, Her Majesty the Queen, we've had various royal families who have actually stayed on board, I believe. And you never quite knew who you were going to meet next, to be honest. I mean, I had the privilege of dancing and meeting the only surviving member from the Titanic, Milvina Dean. And also we had a lady who lived on here for 14 years. And she gave up her flat in America and decided to live with us. And I say that it was extraordinary. You'd meet, Aretha Franklin, you'd meet film stars from television, from radio. It was endless, and you really didn't know who you were going to meet next. It was extraordinary. So on the upper deck of the QE2 we have the Grand Lounge, and incidentally the first ship that went across the Atlantic, the Britannia, would have fitted in the Grand Lounge. Their stars would perform on the stage. In the day we'd have bingo, we'd have quizzes, we'd have perhaps a Steiner demonstration for hair and beauty, and in the evening, if it wasn't used for dancing, then it would be used for entertainment. The Casino Coffee Lounge, now the casino of course is on board but it's not in use, but it's just kept for authenticity really, and the Coffee Lounge is a nice stop for people who just want to come on, have a coffee, perhaps a slice of cake, look out of the window and see the view from the upper deck, which is quite a way up the QE2. The chart room is another room of significance, and predominantly it was used, I would suggest, as an after-dinner cocktail lounge. Quite small, and it did contain a piano that was on the Queen Mary, and we are hoping that that will return. It was very subtle bar, subtle lighting, and there's still, all these years on, there is still a chest of drawers, wooden chest of drawers, that looks identical to when I did the Heritage Trail some 23 years ago, so that's quite extraordinary. And when the QE2 was in service, we did actually boast the largest theatre afloat, and it held about 531 passengers. Upstairs in the balcony would have been for first class passengers, and on the lower level would be for transatlantic class. That would be when it was a two-class ship in the early days crossing the Atlantic. In the theatre we would have classical concerts, we would have lectures on ports of call, perhaps a Sunday service, a religious service every Sunday at sea. The captain would preside over that. Then we would have, for example, another restaurant would be the Queen's Grill. Now this was, and still is, the best restaurant afloat. We are history, and we were history, and we are continuing to be history. And it's quite astounding that when I came on board some 3 weeks ago now, I stood in the Grand Lounge, it looked exactly the same as it did 23 years ago. So, it's kept very much authentic. The authenticity of the QE2 is still very much the same. And as I say, when I walked on before, I could see just how it was all those years ago. It still is now, and it will be, in the future to come. So it's really lovely to see that it hasn't changed.
Nelson Mandela, and to even more recently Richard Branson, they've all been aboard this ship, and I consider myself extremely fortunate to have spent a night here. So if you also want to actually enjoy and cherish this brilliant experience and opportunity, you know where to find it. It is permanently docked now at Dubai's Mina Rashid. This 13-deck ship has been converted into a hotel, so you know where to find it.